Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Jared Palley's Fragrance Reviews. Tonight we are going to be reviewing an original fragrance from the house of Liz Claiborne. This is Claiborne for Men, which came out in 1989. This is a cologne. The bottle I have is the most recent formulation. This is not the vintage. And from what I understand, the vintage bottle is considerably different from this formulation, in particular in its depth and in its potency. This fragrance is interesting in the fact that it is groundbreaking because it was one of the first scents for men that was of a fruity, kind of powdery design. This was not something that was very prevalent in men's fragrances at the time. So it is unique in that manner. This scent is fruity, it's fizzy, it's powdery, it's dressy, and it has a cosmetic vibe to it, like a lipstick vibe. You may need to wear this a couple of times before you can appreciate it or even like it. But when I was young, and actually maybe 7-8 years ago when I picked this one up, when I smelt it, I was immediately transported back to like the late 80s, early 90s. I remember this fragrance, that fruity fizziness. And it was so different than all the other fragrances that you would smell at the time that were very heavy, very masculine. So this was a trendsetter, in my opinion. I love this fragrance also because it is a sincere attempt to be different, but not be understood. So I'm just going to take this out of the box, and it has one of the most odd-looking bottles. You have this rubber bottom, then you have this kind of plastic. It doesn't come out of the rubber bottom, and this square red top. So the initial is a very sharp, fizzy, fruity scent, but not in a sugary way, in kind of a fruity way, like a fresh fruit. As it dries down, it's still fruity, but it becomes more powdery with floral notes, but it's still very fizzy and exciting. Later on, it becomes a little bit heavier, but it loses a lot of its projection. This is not, the bottle I have is not a good performer. You get maybe 3 hours and it dies off, so you are going to have to reapply. The older version apparently had a lot of power, would last 8 to 10 hours. But later on, it's still fruity. It's deeper in its floral notes. You pick up like the carnation and the rose, but it's mixed with muskiness, some citrus, and woodiness. So it's a very appealing scent. It's very different, it's very unusual. And like I said, it was a groundbreaker for its time. There was really nothing like this out at that time. And if somebody knows the fragrances that were similar at that time, just drop me a line down below because I'd like to know, because this is very unique. As advertised, the top notes are lavender, bergamot, melon. Green notes, lemon, and artemisia. The mid notes are juniper, cyclamen, jasmine, carnation, myrrh, and rose. The base notes are oak moss, musk, leather patchouli, cedar, and amber. So those were, I believe, the original note breakdown, which I don't think all of those notes are in this one, because it doesn't really have that any kind of scent of leather or of any heavy oak moss. This is a fragrance that will be a love and hate relationship. Not everyone will like this because of the powdery cosmetic vibe. There's nothing in the market like this today. This is very different. It has the so-called 80 vibe, and because it has like that cosmetic powdery scent to it, which not everybody's gonna like. Final thoughts on this one. This is definitely something you would want to try before you buy. It is extremely cheap. I would not consider this for a young crowd. It would be maybe someone in their late 20s, early 30s. It is something that may be off-putting to some people, in the sense that if they have not smelled this kind of 80s powdery cosmetic scent, it may be something that they just truly dislike. It is great value, but like I said, the performance is not the greatest. You get several hours and then it really pulls close and it just fades. So that is one problem with this fragrance. And the one thing I would say, just a side remark, is that a lot of people are saying, well, how the fragrance houses are cheapening the fragrance to make more money, which is true to a certain extent. But I know from when I started working in the early 90s all the way to now, a lot of workplaces, a lot of offices, gyms do not allow people to wear fragrances. And if you do wear a fragrance, it would have to be very, very tame and light. So very heavy fragrances, you simply cannot wear in a lot of situations. So I think fragrance companies have responded by creating fragrances that are maybe a little more watery, a little lighter than the heavy ones, because the ones in the 80s you could not wear in an office today. People would be up in arms. They wouldn't know what to do. So that could be one reason why some fragrances like this one is a more watered down version, because I could just imagine this one when it came in, how powerful and overwhelming it could be to some people, because it does seem like it's toned down, but you can recognize that in the past it had that potentiality to be extremely powerful and extremely potent. And the only other note I would make about this one is there is a considerable difference between when you dig your nose into your skin like this, you get more of a fruity vibe. But when you get the scent waft, it's more of a citrus vibe, which is kind of interesting. So always realize that when you dig your nose into your skin, it's not going to be what people are smelling around you. So if you have any comments or any experiences with this fragrance, leave it down below. And if you like this video, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and notification bell. And I'll always get back to your questions or comments. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.